Hello friends, here today we are going to learn what is object-oriented programming is and how it is useful in various aspects, how it is advantageous over the procedural programming and basic concepts of object-oriented programming. Now let's first try to identify what we mean by procedural programming. Procedural programming means the basically a program. A program is the combination of algorithms and data structures. There are algorithms which are describing the methods, which are describing the process, and data which is describing whatever the data values or whatever the entities you want to handle with the help of those algorithms. So a program consists a structured algorithm, a program, and there is some data kept. So a procedural programming consists these two collections separately, basically completely separate concepts. It keeps data somewhere else and the process is written only for that particular data. So that's why it is basically the procedural programming. Now there is a disadvantage on the procedural programming. Many disadvantages. Procedures and data both are completely separate, clearly separate. A procedure is clearly separate, nowhere it is linked together. Even though you delete the data, you will find the procedure is working, will show some haphazard zero values or null values or something like that. Still the procedure will work. So if we look at the programming end, it is completely separate. But if you want to use the same process for some similar other program, say for example, you want to use the railway reservation system for ticket reservation at a movie theater, you can't use the same program or same procedure if you are developing it with procedural programming. Designs are different for different procedures because the reason behind it, because it concentrates on procedure, not on the data objects. So it's a really disadvantageous part. To overcome this disadvantage, basically object-oriented programming concept have been kept. What is an object? Object is usually a person, a thing, or anything. If you have a problem statement, jot down all the nouns into the problem statement and you will get objects. Whatever can be called by a noun can be considered as an object. If we see the methods, the procedure used to operate that object. Now here please concentrate on the definition and tell me the process. In procedural programming, process is how the work is being, how the process is being carried out. According to that, algorithms are built. Whereas in the object-oriented programming, we concentrate more on the object. The object is mainly considered and how that object will react in various situations, that is being considered as the method. So method is action is performed by an object. So if my object remains same in 1, 2, 3, 4, many systems, I can use those objects, those methods anywhere. So if I say ticket booking, that is giving money and purchasing some ticket, that can be considered as it is in railway ticket booking also and movie ticket booking also. Yes, some of the methods may change. That doesn't matter, but we can reuse. So the reusability of the objects and reusability of the methods is one of the major advantage of object-oriented programming. Okay, objects have both data and methods. As I said, we are clubbing out. We are clubbing out an object along with its methods. So let's go for the further slides. An object-oriented programming. To understand object-oriented programming actual examples, before going to that, let's before going to examples of object-oriented, let's start with basic concepts of object orientation. Let's go for the object-oriented process first. Let's understand the basic concepts of object-oriented designing or modeling. Basic concepts of object-oriented are object, class, messages. So let's understand object first. What could be an object? An object can be any entity, either physical, conceptual, or software entity. It can be the physical entity like a vehicle, say a truck. If I'm having a vehicle class, I may have a truck as an object, car as an object, motorbike as an object. If we go conceptually, say a process, method, conceptual, a concept, say chemical reactions, it can be the one of the object. If I'm explaining types of chemical reactions, then chemical process becomes an object. It can be any software entity. It can be anything. Basically, a software object can be any entity. As I said earlier, any noun can be the object. Any noun can be the object. Formal definition of an object is it's an entity with well-defined boundaries and identify which has state and which has behavior, which has states and which has behavior. Now, state represents the attributes and relationships, whereas behavior is representing the relationships, so methods, operations. Say, for example, state. How an object has the state. Say, for example, this is Professor Clark. She is an object in class employee of, see, employee ID is written. So if a college management system is made, then this is employee ID, or employee ID is this. So this is one class called as employees, and Professor Clark is one of the object of that class. So at a single time, at a single entity, Professor Clark is being considered as in one state. Changes over time. See, for example, if she has status, now she has status employed, then it tenured. So after some time, maybe she is retired or something like that. So objects changes states according to the an object may also have the every object has its own unique identity. The state is identical to the another object. Now, say as example we've taken, there is employee ID in college management system. So one Professor J is, say, teacher professor. This is one object of one class professor. He is another object of class professor. So if there are two objects of same class, they must share some attributes, some characteristics, but at the same time that are having some unique identity, which is defined as a primary key in our database objects needs to collaborate. We need to collaborate the objects to with each other. Now let's identify the class. As I'm saying many times, classes and that all. What we mean by a class? A class is a set of objects. Similar objects can be clubbed together and we can make class of it. Now, what should be the similarity between two objects? The objects may be similar in the terms of properties, or they may be similar in the terms of behavior. So similar objects, say Professor 1, Professor 2, Professor 3, these all are of the objects of class Professor, and a class is a description of set of objects that share some properties and behavior. As I was saying, Professor Smith, Professor Miller, and Professor Jones, these three professors are the objects of class Professor here. So they are sharing same attributes. Say everybody is having employee ID, everyone is having some course offering, everybody is having some maximum load, and so on. So objects with similar properties and behavior can be clubbed as into one class. They can be the instances of a class. A class is having some data items and some methods. What is the relation between class and objects? Many times people say, first I have to identify class, or first I have to identify the objects. See, anything can be done. If you are finding similar attributes or similar looking things, similar entities, you can club those together and identify the objects, or you can make a class and then identify the nouns or the objects which are fitting into those classes. You can do vice versa. See, you have to abstract the objects from the real world, and at the same time for the computer, as you are defining the objects from the real world and clubbing it to one class, then again take that class and create the instances in computer programs. So basically the trial is like that. You have to group the objects into a class first and then convert that class into, define that class in programming and create the objects out of it, or create the instances of it in the terms of objects. An attribute of an object, of a class, are the properties. The properties can be anything. It is having a range of values into that. A class have many objects, and every object shares similar attributes, not the same. Every class is separate. Operations are in the class. Operations in the class are the number of methods, number of properties, which are supposed to, number of procedures needed to express are called as the operations to be done by the object. Say here the professor is the object which can get tuitions, add schedules, get schedules. So these are many operations a entity professor is to be performed in that class. So this is all about objects, classes, and their relations with each other. Enough for today's class. Thank you.